Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Marlow York, and today I'm going to be doing my first ever book haul. Can you believe it? I'm still doing some writing and bookish related videos on this channel. Who knows? This channel's pretty much a lottery at this point. So I've never done a book haul. I did a book unhaul, I believe last year at some point. I don't know, I'll link it up in the cards. And I never really thought I would ever do a book haul, mostly because I didn't think I would ever buy a buttload of books all at the same time. Recently, I challenged myself to not buy any more new books unless they are self-published books because I wanted to support my fellow indie authors, and I also wanted to utilize my local library more. And I failed miserably at that. I also wanted to try to read all of the books in my bookshelf before I added any more to the collection, but I failed miserably on all of those accounts. Oh well. Honestly, I never really feel that bad about spending money on books because personally they're just something that's important to me and doesn't feel like a waste. The only time I feel like I've wasted money is if I didn't enjoy the book. So I have quite a few to get through, so let's just get started. The first one is a classic, if I can remember right. It is Where the Red Fern Grows. I've heard about this book dozens, hundreds of times. I definitely love books about animals. I also filmed a video about that, some of my favorite books about animals or featuring animal protagonists, so I'll link that up in the cards as well. And from what I understand, this is a book about a boy and his hunting dogs and love and companionship, and I think it's pretty well known or very stereotypically known for being sad, so I'm prepared to cry when I read this book eventually, just not right now. Not feeling it. Not feeling the tears right now. The next book I bought is actually one that I just finished reading. I also found it at a yard sale as well as Where the Red Fern Grows, and that is Brian's Winter. So when I was in what grade? 5th, 4th, 3rd, I don't know, something around there. Our class read Hatchet, which is also written by Gary Paulson, and this, I believe, is actually the 3rd book in a series. And basically, Brian's Winter is a survival story, a middle grade sort of children's survival story about a boy who is stranded in the northern wilderness. And Brian's Winter is essentially the what if story if Brian had not been rescued at the end of Hatchet and had to survive throughout his first winter on his own with nothing but, you know, basically a few tools and the clothes on his back and his mental skills. So I believe I gave this 4 stars because I thought it was a very interesting book. It brought me back a little bit to reading Hatchet, and the only thing that I really didn't like about it was some parts where, you know, survival books, in my opinion, tend to slow down a bit when it comes to the sort of, I don't know, everyday small tasks that people would have to do to survive, such as, you know, building a shelter, learning how to make fire, learning how to hunt animals, that kind of stuff. So those parts were kind of slow, but overall, I thought it was a very enjoyable, very quick read. The next book I also read recently, and this is a self-help book. Actually, a few of these are self-help and nonfiction books, which aren't normally things that I read that often, but, you know, as you may have seen in a video that I posted not too long ago, I haven't been in the very best mental headspace, so I'm not at all surprised that I have quite a few self-help books in the stack. Anyway, this one is Lightly by Francine J. And this is essentially a book about minimalism, but not just minimalism in the sense of physical belongings. It's also about decluttering mental and, you know, like electronic clutter. It's definitely broken down into very small, easily managed chunks. And it starts with decluttering physical belongings like clothes and kitchen gadgets and stuff like that, but then also electronic stuff, mail, and also sort of a spiritual declutter, simplifying your schedule and also lessening your footprint on the earth and the products that you use. I felt like it was a pretty quick read, and I liked the fact that it covered a wide range of things, not just how to declutter physical belongings. So I'm not really a newbie when it comes to the whole minimalism thing. I'm definitely not an actual minimalist or stereotypical one, nor am I trying to be. However, I really liked that this book sort of compiled all the things that I've been learning, especially just through YouTube videos, and put them all in one place where I could use this as a reference guide to go through these individual sections and chapters piece by piece and declutter things as I go. So I definitely recommend this book. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. I think I would give it a 4.5 just off the top of my head. Because like I said, it's not exactly meant for people who have been doing this kind of thing for a while, but it is nice to have everything all in one spot. The next book that I got recently is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I've heard a lot about this book. I've heard it praised very much. I know it was made into a movie that I was interested in, and I don't really know that much about it. I haven't read it yet, but from what I understand, it's about a high school freshman named Charlie who is kind of shy, introspective, not exactly popular. He is smarter beyond his years, and he's trying to navigate this very difficult time in his life, i.e. being a teenager, and trying to not live his life on the sidelines anymore. It sounds like something that's definitely up my alley as someone who is an introvert and who wasn't exactly, popular or anything in high school, so I'm definitely interested to start reading this fairly soon, when I get around to it. Obviously, with all of these books. This next book is one that caught my eye in the store, and man, I'm a sucker for the grocery store book aisle. I should just never go in them. Half the time I see mostly things that I don't really care about, but this one happened to catch my eye, and guess why? It is St. Francis Society for Wayward Pets. Of course the dog freaking caught my eye. I've never heard of this book, I'll be honest, but of course the dog caught my eye. The Wayward Pets thing caught my eye because I'm an animal lover, and I also spend a lot of time volunteering for local animal shelters. So this book apparently is about a woman named Maeve who's been having a pretty rough life recently, and she ends up adopting an American bulldog and getting involved in a group where they make colorful sweaters for dogs and cats at a shelter kind of situation. So it seems to me like this is a book about a woman who's struggling in life and is kind of finding like a found family and a new purpose. And I don't know, it just seems like it could be really cute. It could be an interesting read. And I mean, there's a dog on the cover. Need I say more? This next book I'm actually reading right now, and that is Wicca by Harmony Nice. Harmony Nice is also a YouTuber and a Wiccan, and this is her book about Wicca and about witchcraft and kind of the basics of getting started. I myself am not a Wiccan, however, the only religions or spiritualities that have ever appealed to me are like Wicca, paganism, witchcraft, that kind of stuff. I was more interested in it when I was younger, and I kind of fell out of that interest for a while, but recently it's sort of rekindled in me, and maybe this is because I've had a lot going on, and my brain is just kind of like, hey, remember that thing that, you were interested in way back when that kind of piqued your interest and you really liked it? So I've been just sort of using this as a tool to kind of get back on track with that kind of stuff. And, again, I don't really ever want to proclaim a religion at this point in my life, but I do like the idea of pagan stuff and spirituality in general. So I'm not quite halfway through it, but I am enjoying it as a sort of basics of Wicca and witchcraft book. This next book is another self-help, nonfiction, psychological book, and it is The Body Keeps the Score. This I actually read about in some sort of blog post or something. This book is basically about how trauma, different types of trauma, especially in your childhood or just in your past in general, actually reshape the mind and body in ways that we don't quite understand. I haven't really started this book yet, but it sounds very interesting. It had so many positive reviews. I think it had over like 3,000 or 5,000 reviews on Amazon, and it was almost exactly 5 stars. I'm very interested to read the ideas behind this, and this is stuff that me and my therapist have been talking about, how your mind, after experiencing some harsh stuff, doesn't necessarily know the difference between stuff that happened in the past and stuff that's happening now, and it's just kind of fascinating how the mind and the body work together and sometimes against each other after you've gone through some shit. So to me, this sounds like an interesting book for anyone who's dealt with some difficult stuff or knows someone who has and is just trying to figure out what exactly is going on between the mind and the body. Oh man, another nonfiction self-help kind of book. This one is called All Joy and No Fun. The Paradox of Modern Parenthood. I don't remember how I stumbled across this book. I think I was looking for articles that talk about the negative aspects of parenting and why that's okay. So I haven't talked about my thoughts on being a parent or becoming a parent or any of that stuff. That could be its own video in and of itself. Basically, I think anyone and everyone can agree that having kids, becoming a parent, parenthood, all of that is very, very difficult. But for me, the problems that I've had is that you often hear parents say things like, having children is the best thing that I ever did, and oh yes, it's difficult, but it's so rewarding. And I've had this problem where people just complain and complain and complain about their kids, and yes, I understand it is very difficult. I'm not a parent, but I can definitely sympathize with what they go through, but I always just didn't understand why they could spend so much time complaining about how difficult and exhausting parenthood is, but then still say it's the best thing that's ever happened to them, or it's so rewarding, and they never can really explain why that is. So from what I understand, this is basically a book that doesn't really explain the good things about parenthood, but kind of spells out all of the difficult things about it and why it is in fact joyful. Children do add joy to parents' lives, but they are no fun. And again, I should just do all of that in its own, I don't know, rant video or something of itself. My thoughts on parenthood and raising children. But it is nice to find a book that sort of says, yeah, this is very, very difficult. It's going to be very difficult from the minute they're born to the time that they're 40. And that's absolutely okay. I did see in reviews that people were a bit disappointed that this book didn't offer any tips to make the difficulties easier. So I did see some people saying that it's kind of a depressing book to just kind of blatantly say, yeah, parenthood kind of sucks sometimes. So I do prepare myself for that, but I don't know. That's why I haven't exactly read it yet, because I'm not looking to feel worse about the idea of being a parent, but I would definitely like some reassurance that it's okay. Alrighty. The next book is fiction. Going back to fiction right now, and it is A Fantasy Christmas, Tales from the Hearth. Hearth? Hearth? I think I say Hearth. Now this I'm very proud of. I'm not featured in this book. However, this is a compilation of Christmas and holiday themed fantasy stories that was written by and compiled by people who are in a fantasy writing group with me. Lots of people that I've met and had really good conversations with and would love to meet in person someday. They all got together and put together this book. And I'm generally not a huge fan of short story books. It's not like my go-to genre or my go-to medium, however you want to say that. But I did definitely want to support my fellow rogues, as we like to call ourselves. And this does sound like an interesting take on the fantasy genre, because I, again, don't really read like Christmas or holiday specific books. This is me trying to support my friends and also try something a little bit different. Alright, so this next one is also fiction, and it's one that, again, I found at the grocery store bargain bin. It is A Tragic Kind of Wonderful, and apparently this is by the author of Not If I See You First, which I think was much more critically acclaimed. I don't think I've heard anything about this book, but it did catch my eye while I was looking for just like young adult books in the bargain bin. And apparently this is about a 16-year-old girl with bipolar disorder, and I think it's just kind of about her trying to navigate being a teenager and a high schooler with a mental illness. And again, there's a freaking theme with some of these books. This to me was a little bit relatable in the sense that I know what it's like to be a teenager with mental illness. Not bipolar specifically, but I can sort of sympathize with the character already and how difficult it can be to deal with that kind of stuff and just try to be a teenager and try to be kind of normal when you don't feel normal. This sounds like it has the potential to be kind of sad and difficult at times, but I'm interested in it. I do like reading books about mental illness and people dealing with that kind of stuff, both fiction and nonfiction. Alright, we are down to the last book in this haul. Are you still with me? Are you still awake? Are you still there? It's me, Marlow. The last book is a nonfiction book, however, it is a short story nonfiction collection. and it is Women Who Run with the Wolves. And this is another well-known book that has been very highly praised. Essentially, it is myths and stories of the wild woman archetype. So from what I gather, it is a collection of stories, short stories, myths, legends, all revolving around powerful female characters. It looks like the stories come from a variety of different cultures, myths, fairy tales, stories, whatever, all just about different, fierce women and healthy women and just interesting stuff about women. So I definitely could use a well-written feminist type book about powerful women, and it sounds to me like this will be that book, because once again, I've heard many, many good things about it and the stories within it. God, I hope you guys aren't getting a gnarly reflection right now. So I'm definitely eager to read this, but again, short stories generally aren't my thing, but I do love myths and fairy tales and those sorts of things, so I'm very interested in this book. Obviously, I'm very interested in all the books that I have here, otherwise why would I have them? That should go without saying. Alright, so those are all the books that I have accumulated in the last couple months. Yeah, like I said, I didn't expect to get all these books because I wanted to cut down my book collection before I added any more to it. However, I'm not mad at all. I love getting books, whether that's at a yard sale, being gifted books, as some of these were gifted to me. And books to me aren't something that is really a waste of money, just in my opinion. Some other people might disagree, but to each his own. If you like this video, definitely like and subscribe. Comment down below if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. If you'd like to keep up with me on my writing endeavors and so on and so forth, I'll leave my social media links below in the description, as well as links to my self-published novels Blood of Fire and Trail of Flames. So until next time, see ya!